Welcome back to Colorado Politicking. I am Pat Poblete, a legislative reporter with Colorado Politics, and being joined this week by the Capitol's ever-present, as always, Marianne Goodland, and Colorado Politics senior writer, Joey Bunch. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we this week?
Great to be here.
Absolutely.
So, Marianne, I think we should start calling ourselves the Wu-Tang Clan after this last couple weeks, because it really has been cash ruling everything around us as lawmakers under the Gold Dome considered the 2021-2022 state budget. So why don't you shed a little bit of light on that? Where are we at with the budget?
Well, the messy and dirtiest part of it is over with. It's gone through the House and the Senate. The House wrapped up its work on the budget on Thursday morning. So now it heads back to the Joint Budget Committee, which is the conference committee. And what they'll do is they'll strip off the amendments. They'll start negotiating about what they want to keep. And at this point, the JBC follows the direction of each of the caucuses that control the JBC. So whether or not it's going to look the same as it did when it was introduced in the Senate back on April 5th, anybody's guess. The budget started off at $34.1 billion. Chances are it's not going to change by much more than $50 million at the most.
Now, Joey, that's the nuts and bolts of the budget there. Why don't you give us a little bit more of the big picture? What should we be expecting here? What's the political upshot, if you will?
Well, politics is the current that runs under everything at the Gold Dome, and it's certainly this. I mean, this is year 3 of Governor Jared Polis's agenda. He doesn't want to be doing these big things next year during his election year. So this is critical. Timing matters. There's also people in the legislature who are looking at higher office, and they need to capitalize. But the problem is this is a pay me now and pay me later situation, because the things that they buy with one-time money, they're going to have to pay for later on. Now, Democrats are okay with that. They want to spend money on social programs, but Republicans would rather tie money up in bonds to invest in infrastructure. So it's a real showdown over money. And, I go back to what the political pundit, Notorious B.I.G. said, mo money, mo problems. Pat, and you've looked at budgets in a lot of places, in the Midwest and the Southwest. What do you think about the Rocky Mountain West? What's better? What's worse?
Well, I'll point to one thing that I think falls in both of those categories, Joey, and that's kind of the ability for everyone in the legislature to have their say. Now, in previous states where I've covered, a lot of the amendments to budgets come specifically from leadership, and now there's some input from caucuses. But here in Colorado, each lawmaker has an opportunity to offer amendments and really target specific areas that they're passionate about. Now, that's certainly a good thing for the democratic process, small d democratic process there, in terms of making sure that constituents are heard, right? It's not so good of a thing if you are a reporter with an 11 p.m. deadline and you didn't think there was any way that budget deliberations would stretch 12 hours. But I suppose that's more of a personal problem than a statewide problem. But Joey, let me ask you, because we started out there in New York City with the Wu-Tang Clan. Let's head over to Mexico City. As I understand it, there's some news from our neighbors from the South that has some direct impact to Colorado.
Maybe. We heard news yesterday that Ken Salazar may be the ambassador to Mexico. And, 21% of our state population is Hispanic and 17,000 DACA recipients. Colorado is really poised to leave their imprint on this issue on a national level. It's pretty exciting. Let's see if it happens.
And Marianne, let's close it out with you now. What should we be expecting in this upcoming week? What's big that's on your agenda?
The biggest thing that's going to take place in the next week, I'm hearing that there is an agreement coming on the public option bill. That there is finally some movement on that. We had an 11-hour hearing on that on last week ago, and the hearing that was supposed to take place this week was canceled because there still wasn't an agreement. But today, we're hearing there's movement. So next week, we do expect that bill to be back up in the House Health and Insurance Committee, and we'll see what that bill looks like.
Insightful as ever from both Marianne and from Joey there. For both of them, I'm Pat Poblete. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear a little bit more about what's going on under the Gold Dome, and we will be sure to catch you next week.